Julia Pointer. Madeleine was someone who gave evidence at the last phase of hearings of the inquiry. She was the woman deceived into a sexual relationship by Vincent James Harvey, known as Vince Miller, whilst deployed undercover, who was a special demonstration squad officer who went on to have a very successful career, which led him to become head of the National Crime, NCIS, I forget what it stands for. Anyway, her statement was concerned with three matters. One was a postcard that she found that he'd sent from the USA. This was something which, after he had withdrawn, that he had sort of kept in touch a little bit, sort of eking it out. This was something that all the undercover officers engaged in to a certain degree. Of once they were leaving, they were kind of keeping in contact with the people they'd infiltrated a little bit, just to sort of cover their withdrawal, make it seem realistic, not just disappear completely. He claimed he'd gone to the USA, that he'd gone to New York and then had driven down the coast in a hire car to Florida, that he'd lost his address book, so he was only sending postcards to people whose addresses he could remember, and he might have got them wrong, so they might not turn up. He was a bit low on cash, but he was having a great time, and blah, blah, blah. And just sort of really sort of laying the foundations for, like, don't expect to hear from me too much or at all. She'd forgotten she had it, and she found it in a box full of old letters from boyfriends. So, that was a little sort of was an interesting little insight into this sort of behaviour. Something certainly that I'm familiar that Marco Jacobs, who was infiltrated the group I was a part of, did after he left, slightly differently through text messages and stuff. Then she mentioned once the restriction order on his name was lifted, which she was given the option before she gave evidence to know his real name, but though she wouldn't be able to share it. This was because it was claimed that a family member of his was very worried about the impact of that, and she felt some sympathy for that. On finding out what his career became after he stopped being an undercover officer, she definitely changed her feelings about what about the concerns about that, and feels that that she could have that the evidence that he gave at the inquiry is very much coloured by what he became later on, that his such a public facing role with so many media appearances as he did have, why on earth did he need the anonymity, especially considering he was blatantly his name was going to become public afterwards because of what he ended up admitting to. She said she was very upset by him claiming not to remember her at first, and saying she may have been lying before kind of crumbling, essentially, which was, as someone who did get to see the video of him crumbling, that was probably a high point of the inquiry so far. She also draws attention to some documents which she has been made aware of since her appearance, about events that she's sure she was at, but she's not mentioned at. We also then heard from Julia Pointer, who was is a friend of Madeleine's, who knew of her and Vincent's relationship. She talks about how, they were, she was aware they were a couple, lots of other people wouldn't have been. Her and Madeleine talking about how he used to leave in the middle of the night after sex, and how strange that was. If you remember, that was Madeleine would refer to as Vampire Vince because of that behaviour. She was also targeted by Phil Cooper, another undercover officer she was aware of while she was active in the Walthamstow Socialist Workers' Party in the 1970s. She recounts a bunch of situations where he gave them lifts, or went on demonstrations with them. Talks about what a drunk he was, what a stoner he was. Quite amusingly, he claimed to be a delivery driver for Marble, which she never saw him do. But he did turn up once at her house with a big slab of marble, which she's still got, and she's provided a photo. She also provided a photo of Phil Cooper with herself. at a protest. Yeah, I mean, it did very interesting. I've got to be honest, I'm at that point where my brain was starting to turn to mush, so I did like kind of lose the thread a bit during the end of her written statement. The written statement's not published yet, but it should be at some point today. It's nearly finished today. That's it for now. We now reconvenes tomorrow with an in-person hearing, which will be Lindsay German at the Amler Hotel in London. If you can make it, please go along. Please live tweet. Please cover it if you can. I won't be able to. I'm at a funeral tomorrow, so I won't be there. I'm sure the Campaign Opposing Police Surveillance have done amazing work with live tweeting proceedings today. I think they're still going. They're pausing the video to sort of cover things properly, which is not something that I do. I really recommend checking out their tweets. I'm sure they'll be tweeting again tomorrow, as will others, I would imagine. Let us know what you think of what's said tomorrow. I'd be interested to catch up with it after I'm done. I'll be back following things on Friday, though I'm not sure in how much detail. But we will be hearing Barry Moss on Friday, so that should be interesting. I'll be covering it remotely and be going down to London for Monday when there's a full week of in-person hearings with more managers giving evidence. We'll also be having a Twitter Spaces this evening at 7 o'clock. Hopefully there'll be every evening as the inquiry draws on. If you've got any thoughts or anything, please make them known. Join us in the Twitter Spaces, see what you think. We're keen to keep it on topic about the Undercover Policing Inquiry. We had someone join us yesterday who wanted to talk about something about themselves and some recent events that they claim was MI5. I'm not there for that. Great, yeah. Cheers for tuning in. I'll be back doing these live reactions now on Friday. I'll see you then. Cheers. Oh, and join us at 7 o'clock on Twitter.